I was counting my blessings, I felt beaten down. I was looking for a calling, felt lonely in a crowd. I was searching for the answers, too blind to see the signs. He was always by my side. He shed his light and picked me up. I'm safe in his arms. I found my bliss in the greatest love there is.
Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my channel for another video. Today's video is going to be a day in the life video. It's September 16th, and you guys know it's been a terrible week. We were all horrified last week when Charlie Kirk was killed, and it's affected all of us. There's a lot that I could say about this that I won't. So much has been said already by others, but it just doesn't feel right to jump into another video. I haven't recorded anything since it happened, and it doesn't feel right to just move on without saying something. So I wanted to say this. When tragedies like this happen, they force us to stop and wrestle with big questions. I've heard from multiple people this past week that it's so hard to reconcile how God allows bad things to happen to good people. That's an age-old question, right? How God can allow something like this to happen to someone like Charlie Kirk, someone who was a faithful Christian and was doing so much to help people learn truth. And I think that one of the most helpful ways to explain this, and how I explain this to my kids, is that it's not easy, but tragedies like this help remind us and help us to learn more of God's character and who he is. Truths about him that we wouldn't fully be able to know and understand without living in a broken world. We were created to know God and make him known. That's our purpose here, to know him fully. So I've been reflecting this past week on a few of God's qualities that actually become just more apparent to us in the wake of tragedies like this. Things that become more clear to us through suffering and loss that can help kind of navigate this hard question. And so I just wanted to share that this morning before we jump into all of the things. The first thing that I was reminded of this past week is that God is just. When evil happens, violence, injustice, a life cut short, we actually saw multiple instances of this in the news last week. When evil happens, it awakens something deep inside of us that cries out, this isn't right. That cry is more than just emotion. It's evidence of who God is. Like I said, we're created in his image, and because God is just, he's planted that same sense of justice deep into our hearts. If there were no God, right and wrong would be just opinions, but the fact that we instinctively long for wrongs to be made right shows that there really is a higher standard, and that standard comes from him. Our outrage at events like this, our ache for justice, is like an echo of God's own character. It points us to the truth that he's the ultimate judge, the one who sees all things perfectly. And we know that even when people escape earthly consequences, they will never escape his perfect judgment. But here's the good news. For those who have accepted Christ, that judgment has already been poured out, not on us, but on Jesus. He took the punishment we deserved when he died on that cross. So while God's justice means that evil will not win in the end, we know it will not win in the end, his grace means that we don't have to fear that judgment ourselves. You don't have to fear it when you accept his gift. Jesus paid it all. And that's our hope. Evil doesn't win. And in Christ, we are safe in God's justice and his mercy. We serve a just God. And as hard as it is to walk through tragedy, I'm not sure we'd be able to know this or understand this part of who God is without it. That kind of leads into the second thing. God is gracious. In moments of tragedy, like what happened last week, it can feel like the world is unbearably unfair, and it is. But suffering also opens our eyes to God's grace in a powerful way. The truth is, none of us are entitled to a pain-free life. None of us deserve protection from every hard thing. And yet, God gives grace, daily, constant, undeserved grace and kindness. Every breath, every morning, every comfort in the middle of pain is a gift we didn't earn. Hardships in our lives make grace personal. When life is good, we overlook it, right? But when tragedy strikes, we can see his grace and goodness more clearly. I know that this has been a wake-up call for me, as it has been for so many around the world that I'm sure you are seeing. Third, remember that God is sovereign. Moments like this remind us how little control we actually have. We don't understand why events unfold the way that they do, but we can rest in the truth that God is sovereign. Nothing takes him by surprise, and he is weaving even the darkest moments into his greater plan. That doesn't mean that he causes every painful thing, but it does mean that he rules over it. He sees the whole picture when we only see that tiny piece. And knowing God is sovereign, of course, doesn't make suffering painless, but it should give us confidence that even the worst things will not derail his purposes. He is working all things, even tragedies, into his story of redemption. And then finally, suffering reminds us that God is the Redeemer. He redeems us. He doesn't waste our pain. He takes ashes and brings beauty. Even in the wake of Charlie's death, God can use it and is using it to stir conversations, to turn hearts toward him, and to remind us of the hope of eternity. You see it all throughout Scripture. God's people constantly forgetting who he was. They wandered, they doubted, they turned to other things, yet every single time God redeemed them. He rescued, restored, and revived their hearts. And sadly, although we'd like to think so, we are no different. And sometimes it takes the sting of hardship to shake us awake and bring us back to the truth that we need God. We need his redemption. We need to draw near to him and do what he's called us to do here, to step out in faith, to have those conversations, share his word, be bold and courageous, and not ashamed of the gospel. So as we all continue to process the events of last week while continuing to homeschool and disciple our kids, I just think that these are some truths to keep in mind. God is just, he's gracious, sovereign, and he is our Redeemer. And we can know him better and grow in our love for him through the hardships that we endure on this side of heaven. We don't have to pretend that everything is fine. It's not, but we can trust that God is who he says he is, even in a world that feels so broken. So thanks for letting me share this with you today. It's just been such a heavy week, and these are some of the things that have been encouraging to me as I've prayed and processed, and I hope that it can encourage you a little bit too. All right, so it's almost 11 a.m. and most days my older kids and I try to come together anytime between 10 and 11 to work on the stuff that we do together, which is history, our worship curriculum, and sometimes we do a little bit of Latin together. Ideally, we would get together closer to 10, but my kids have been working on some other things, and we just got a later start this morning. So quick check-in on Homeschool Planet before we get started on our work together. One of you guys had asked me if kids don't complete work on Homeschool Planet, does it let you adjust things? And the answer is yes. So whenever I open up Homeschool Planet for the first time during the day, if there are assignments that were not finished the last day, so these were things that I had listed yesterday that did not get checked off as being done, it'll pop up this screen. You can set it to pop up this screen. You can choose what you want to do with that assignment. So for this one right here, one of my daughters is working on a cover. We're doing a little cover design contest for the yearbook class I'm running at our homeschool co-op. So I had this assignment in here for her to work on it. I want to carry that forward to today. So it just reminds her that she still needs to work on it. My daughter did finish her cello. She just forgot to mark it off. That was done late last night because she forgot her bow at orchestra practice and I had to go retrieve it for her. But she didn't get that done. And then I don't think Emma finished her science video. I'm going to carry it forward to today and ask her about that. And then vocab, again, I'm not sure. I'll check in with her and then we'll mark it off today if we need to. When I click forward, this is telling me that usually we only do art on Friday, and that's where I put the yearbook assignment. So it's just double checking what I want to do with that. I don't want to put it on Friday. I want to move it to today. So I'll click OK, and then everything should be set. So here we are on Tuesday. I've got a box at the top to remind my kids to get their chores done. Luke is on top of things today. Go, Luke. He had a quiz in Shoreman math today. So that's what he was working on before. He got that taken care of. Okay, it looks like he's good on language arts. He was up probably the first today and got a lot of things done while I was running. Emma is working on her language arts right now, so she's almost finished with that. They've got math done, vocabulary. Carly needs, I think she might be working on that right now. Typing, music practice. Okay, so we come down here. This is what we're going to be doing together. Our foundations and worship curriculum. We'll be doing mystery of history. Today in science, they have reading. So with Journey Homeschool Academy, they've got a video on one day, reading the next day, and then they do quiz and a lab. So today is their reading day, but looks like we are doing pretty good so far. Oh, and I almost forgot about this, writing and rhetoric. This is another thing that we do together. So we are on book 4, Crea and Proverbs. So we're going to be working on our second Crea today, it looks like. So I'm going to call them in and we're going to get started on this in just another couple of minutes. I was going to say, with my first grader, he doesn't typically join us for like our history and our worship curriculum and things like that. He's just a little bit too young. So ideally, if he was up while the older kids were working on their independent work, we would be working on some of our first grade curriculum. Some days that happens, but we're pretty relaxed on wake up time around here. So some days he doesn't wake up till a little bit later. And in that case, we just do what we can. Sometimes his schoolwork happens after lunch. And then sometimes I have to just kind of combine days, maybe do 2 lessons in science one day because we didn't get to it, just be really flexible with it. And luckily at his age, the things that take up the most time are logic of English and sometimes math, but math doesn't really tend to take up too much time. But the other things, the social studies and history and science are fairly short and pretty easy to get through. So it's been good to be able to be more flexible with those things. So originally at the beginning of the year, I envisioned, okay, when the big kids are doing their independent work, he'll get up early and we'll work together on all of his schoolwork, get it done. But the reality is that doesn't happen most days. Some days it does, but a lot of days we just kind of do what we can. I make sure to try to get his math and reading in. Right now, those are probably my top 2 priorities, and then we fit in everything else as we can. So as I'm working with these guys, he's just gonna kind of be off playing. He's watching something on his iPad right now and just having a little snack. So that's what he'll be doing as I'm working with my older kids on their schoolwork, and then it'll be time for lunch pretty soon. So that's what's going on this morning.
I saw a ray of hope, and he led me out the dark. God's forever faithful, he'll always lift you up. I was looking for the answers, too blind to see the signs. He was with me all this time. No, he never left my side. He shed his light and picked me up. I'm safe in his arms. I found my bliss and the greatest love there is.
All right, so next up we're going to be doing the mystery of history. This is my bin where we keep all of our history stuff, and a review is coming very soon on this volume 2. So be on the lookout for that, but we're going to be using our textbooks today. We're going to be doing a little bit of notebooking, and then we also have been working on some folder books this time around. So I think we have one of these to go with our lesson, but overall, it shouldn't be too long of a lesson today. We're on our third day for this little section, and then tomorrow I think will be a quiz or a review. Let's see. Oh, we do have a quiz tomorrow. So, and then we have a nice little crossword puzzle today. So that's what's up next. And then we're going to get to making lunch.
He translated the entire Bible into Latin.
So what was it?
You did here.
What was it in before? It was in Latin, Hebrew and Greek, right? Yeah. Okay, so he translated the entirety of it into Latin. Okay.
As for the Bible, did you know that it says it was inspired by God? 2 Timothy 3:16 states all scripture is given by inspiration of God. This means that God gave the words to men to write. Peter affirmed this when he wrote, "For prophecy never came by the will of man, but the holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit." 2 Peter 1:21. In simpler terms, this means that God used men like Moses, David, Matthew, Paul, and others to write things that he wanted us to know. These sacred writings have become what we call the Holy Bible.
Something important to know and understand about the Bible is the canon of Scripture. What does that mean?
I never knew that came from the Greek word K-A-N-O-N, canon, which means something straight. And I love that, a rod, a reed, or a measuring stick. So when you hear that phrase, the canon of the Bible, it's talking about all the pieces of writing that were chosen to be in what we now know of as the Bible. But think about that. That's what canon means. We use it as our measuring stick, right? Our source of truth, that rod, that reference point. So that's kind of a neat thing to know. Okay, go ahead and take it up from there. Okay, kids are finishing up history, and we are going to get started on lunch. Daily lunch menu, one of my favorite things that I have done. It makes lunchtime so easy. Today we are just doing ham or turkey sandwiches, chips, oranges, cookies, and lemonade. So I'm just gonna start setting this stuff out so when the kids are done, they can start to build their sandwiches. We're gonna have lunch real quick, and then I'm going to be working with my first grader on his schoolwork. So while everybody is eating lunch, like I said, we're gonna get that going in just a minute. In case you guys are curious, once my kids are done with their independent work during the day, I usually just have them stack it on the counter over here by my computer. This is typically my work area. It's kind of cluttered right now, but I usually have them stack it, and then I just go through it sometime in the evening to grade it and make notes on if there are things that we need to talk about the next day. So my son has some literature for me to grade, and I have been trying to keep up with the reading on this. So I'm reading this book alongside of him, so I've got a chapter that I need to read there. Got some writing, some vocab, and I think that's it. This book right here, I'm also trying to read alongside, like the same chapters that my son is reading. So I have a couple of things that I want to get caught up on with this book as well. This is here because I need to catch up on some of my own Latin homework. I've been trying to do the work alongside the kids as we go through the course, and then I need to plan a little bit for class on Thursday because you guys know I teach this to a small group of our homeschool co-op, so I have to do that today. I'm finishing up a review of the Mystery of History, so that's going to be on my agenda. I want to get my thoughts together on this so I can finish pulling this video together for you guys. So that is what's going on over here. Yesterday, my son and I went to the library, my youngest son, because I had a couple books on hold. I would love to know what you guys are reading right now. Last year, I did a video near the end of the year kind of sharing some of the books that I had on my list to read this year, and most of them were nonfiction books. I had mentioned how I'd kind of gotten away from fiction, and you guys shared a lot of great recommendations to me, and I have been reading more this year than I have in a long time, and a lot of it has been fiction, so much so that there's a lot of books that were on my list that I have not even gotten to. So currently, there are two things that I'm reading. I'm reading Street Smarts by Greg Koukl because we've got a small book group going on where we're reading and discussing that group. And then I had started going through Total Truth by Nancy Pearcey again. I had read parts of that as part of a class I was doing at my church a while ago, but I just pulled it out to kind of just read through the entire thing because I hadn't done that yet. But then I'm gonna have to balance that now because these two books I had on hold, they've been on hold forever at the library, came in. This one by Kristen Harmel, The Sweetness of Forgetting. Someone suggested this book to me earlier, The Book of Last Names, and I read it and I really loved it. So I haven't read anything else by her yet. We're gonna give this one a try. And then Kristen Hanna, The Nightingale. This is also highly recommended to me. I read Winter Garden. That was the only other thing I have read from her, but I know everyone talks about her books all the time, so I'm gonna give this one a try. I really got into the Timeless series this year, and I'm currently waiting for the next book to come out. It's coming out in November, so I've got that on pre-order. Probably gonna have to go reread some of the other books just to remember what's going on. I don't know about you guys, I have a terrible memory when it comes to things that I read. That's why I don't do book reviews, because I read it and I love it, but a month later, ask me what it was about and I would probably struggle to tell you. So, but I do know that, I'm loving these books that you guys recommended. And then this is what my son had picked out. It's really fun to see him get excited about books because he is learning how to read. And so there's a lot more words and things that he knows how to read. He's loving soccer right now, so he's excited about that one. And so these are our library books. We're gonna be reading these hopefully this week together. So I'd love to know, what are you guys reading? Leave me a comment and let me know if you have any suggestions on some other fiction books that I might want to add to my list. What does ing say?
Ink?
Yeah, well, not ink. So remember, this new phonogram says what? Ing. So ing, right? Ing is ing. So what do we need to add to the beginning of that to make ring?
Or.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Check it and see what it says.
Mom.
What? Good. There you go.
I thought you had to type all.
Like the whole word?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So what is that a picture of?
Swing.
Okay. So hold on, look at what, before you check it, look at what you have. You have, so if you put the S there, put it back, put the S there. Now sound that out. What does that say?
S.
So S, and then what about the ing at the end? What does that say?
Swing.
Well, sound out what you have. So you have
Swing
S. Well, look at what you have though. You have S, and then you have
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because what did you have without that? What word was that before you had that on there?
Swing.
Hold on, look at me. What word did you have before you had swing? If there was no W, it was just sing, right?
Sing.
Sing. So we had to add that W to make it swing.
Do I hit this?
Yeah, try the next one.
This no.
Underline the and the Let's read it together. Sing. Great. The next word is sing. I love to sing. Sing. Good job. Let's sound it out. Good. Go ahead and write sing. And as you write it, be sure you're sounding it out. Now help me to write it by sounding it out. And how will we mark it? We'll underline the Sing. The next word is clock. I don't know where the clock is. Clock. Clock. Good. Let's sound it out. K. Use a k. O, ah, k. Did you hear that? It has two k sounds and they're spelled differently. Let's do it one more time. K. Use a k. O, ah, k. Do you see which one here? Two letter k. Good. Go ahead and write it. So we're just about finished up with the logic of English, and from here we're going to move into math. We are using Generations Math 1. We're actually about halfway through this because we kind of started it over the summer and a little bit prior to last year ending. So yesterday, Oliver already started this page. He wanted to do some of these exercises yesterday. He started. We're going to finish this up, and then this is all we have for math today. So the next page gets into the next lesson. So we're going to do that. We'll probably take it over to the couch. And then we've got science. This is what we're using for science this year. You guys have asked for a review on this, and I'll do it very soon. But actually, yesterday we didn't get to science or our social studies, so I'm actually probably going to do 2 days worth, but it's really short, so we've just got a little bit of reading today. We'll probably skip the coloring. Last year my son really liked to color, and this year it's kind of hit or miss whether he wants to do that or not. A little bit more reading here, and then he's got an activity where he's cutting and pasting, so that won't take us too long. And then finally we will finish up with a little bit in here. Again, I'm going to do 2 days worth, but I think this is just a little bit of reading. So we'll do this over at the couch. And I almost forgot, last thing we have to do for logic of English, he's got a little reader that he's gonna do. So he's gonna sit and read this with me, and then we'll be done with reading. So my first grader just came up to me. He had left we just finished his lessons, and he left to go do something. And I was just sitting here relaxing for a bit, scrolling on my phone, and he just comes back over and gives me a big hug and says, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" And he said, "For teaching me today." And unprompted, just touched my heart. And I am just so thankful every day for the gift of time with my kids and what homeschooling has allowed us to share together. So thankful for this journey that God has called me to. Every day isn't fun and exciting. Lots of days are hard. They can be long. With older kids now, it's different because we're learning a lot differently than we did when they were younger. And with my younger one, I obviously still get to experience some different things, but even, the dynamic of 3 older kids and 1 younger kid in the house can be challenging sometimes to navigate and feel like you're meeting everybody's needs really well and doing the best you can. So he came over and said that, and then him and his older brother, so my 2 boys, went downstairs to play a game together. And just for them to have that time together is priceless to me. And one of the reasons I love homeschooling so much. So it's about 3 o'clock right now, 3:15, and everybody's pretty much done for the day. I think I'm seeing one of my daughters right now. She's going upstairs to finish her science reading. But other than that, we're pretty much finished. And I am going to be taking my youngest son to soccer practice in about an hour. Usually my older son has piano on Tuesdays, but his lessons got canceled for today. So we've got soccer, and then Josh and I usually divide and conquer for dinner. It depends on who is home at the time and takes care of dinner. One of the best things that I have done recently is very similarly to our lunch plan, our lunch menu. I went through and I organized a dinner plan. It's a 5-week rotation. I took all of our favorite meals, and I used a free template that I had found online, but I basically just went through and planned out which dinners we're going to have on which day. I kind of thought about what do we have going on those nights. That would be the easiest dinner for us to make that night. And I didn't repeat things, and it's just worked out so well. We were spending a lot of money eating out because a lot of our nights are really busy and we have activities that run late. And if I don't plan things out, making dinner at home just isn't going to happen. So I think last month we saved so much money. I mean, it's embarrassing to even think about how much we were spending going out to eat. And we've really enjoyed just revisiting some of the recipes that we love. My kids have been helping make dinner, and it's just been great to be more intentional about it. And I don't know why I didn't do this before. So highly recommend doing this. I'm happy to share what this looks like with you guys in another video if you're interested, but it is definitely one more thing, that when you take the time to plan it out and put that intentional effort into it, it can make your days so much easier. So that's it for today. Like I said, I'm just going to catch up on a little bit of work in the hour that I have, and maybe go grade some schoolwork, and then get ready to take Oliver for soccer practice, and that will be our Tuesday. So I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with us today, seeing what an example of a homeschool day could be like. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.